Hey everyone, tonight we're diving deep, not into the usual Roman forums or Egyptian pyramids, though we're in the neighborhood, sort of. Instead, you're going to find yourself wandering through the bustling, sun-drenched markets of ancient Kush, a kingdom that flourished along the Nile south of Egypt. Picture this. The air is thick with the scent of myrrh, roasting grains, and the distant, earthy smell of the great river. You can almost feel the dry warmth on your skin. Hear the murmur of voices in a language you don't quite recognize, the clatter of goods, the braying of donkeys. It's a world away, isn't it? A place where life moved at a different rhythm, a rhythm dictated by the seasons, the floods of the Nile, and the slow, deliberate pace of desert caravans. Honestly, with our modern sensibilities and dependence on Wi-Fi, you'd probably last about half a day before desperately trying to trade a goat for a signal booster, which, spoiler alert, they didn't have. So, before you get too comfortable and drift off imagining yourself haggling for frankincense, please take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. It really does help the channel grow and lets me know you appreciate these little historical wanderings. And, as always, I'd love to know where you're listening from and what time it is for you. It's fascinating to see how far these stories travel. Now, turn off the lights. Get your fan on for some gentle white noise, and let's begin tonight's journey together. You find yourself standing at the edge of a sprawling marketplace in Meroe, the later capital of Kush. The sun, though beginning its slow descent, still beats down with a surprising intensity, making the shade of the woven awnings stretched between stalls particularly inviting. Your feet, perhaps bare or clad in simple leather sandals, shuffle on the packed earth, worn smooth by countless traders and customers before you. Around you, the energy is palpable, a vibrant hum, rather than a chaotic roar. This isn't just a place of commerce. It's a social hub, a news exchange, the very lifeblood of the city. Take a deep breath. Can you smell it? Beyond the exotic spices, cardamom, cinnamon, perhaps a hint of ginger brought from distant lands, there's the metallic tang of iron. Kush was renowned for its ironwork, a major mainstream historical fact. The Meroitic period, especially, is often called the Birmingham of Africa by some historians because of the sheer scale of its iron production. You see a smithy nearby, the rhythmic clang of hammer on metal, a steady beat in the market's symphony. Sparks fly, briefly illuminating the dark interior where men, their bodies glistening with sweat, shape the glowing metal into tools, weapons, and intricate jewelry. Imagine the heat rolling out from that stall, a stark contrast to the cooling evening air. They weren't just making plowshares and spearheads. Kushite iron was a prized commodity, traded far and wide, a source of immense wealth and power for the kingdom. You wander deeper, drawn by a peculiar glint. It's not gold, not yet. Instead, you see a stall laden with beautifully crafted pottery. The Meroitic people were master potters, producing some of the most distinctive and elegant ceramics in the ancient world. Their eggshell-thin ware, often decorated with intricate geometric patterns, animals, or even scenes from daily life, was highly sought after. You pick up a small cup, admiring its delicate feel. It's surprisingly light. The artisan, a woman with knowing eyes and hands stained with clay, gives you a slight nod. She doesn't pressure you, doesn't shout. The transactions here often feel more like conversations, a gentle dance of offer and counteroffer. One rather peculiar detail is that some Kushite pottery seems to incorporate designs that historians still debate the meaning of, symbols that might be religious, familial, or perhaps just the artistic whim of the creator. Were they early forms of branding, or did they carry deeper spiritual significance, perhaps even acting as protective amulets for the contents of the vessel? The whispers of these interpretations are still debated in quiet university halls today. You continue your stroll, noticing the diverse crowd. Nubian traders, their skin the color of rich earth, converse animatedly with Egyptians from the north, their linen robes a stark white against the more colorful Kushite garments. You might even spot a few figures who look like they've traveled from further afield, perhaps a merchant from across the Red Sea, or even a Greek adventurer drawn by tales of Kushite wealth. Gold is, of course, central to Kush's fame. The kingdom was a major source of gold for the ancient world, controlling rich mines in the Nubian desert. You see it now, gleaming softly in the fading light. Necklaces, bracelets, earrings, even tiny glittering ingots laid out on soft cloth. It's not the ostentatious, almost vulgar display you might imagine. It's presented with a quiet dignity, a testament to its inherent value. A young boy, no older than 10, darts past you, carrying a water skin. He stops at a stall selling roasted meats and exchanges a few words with the vendor, who hands him a skewer. The smell is incredible. You realize you haven't eaten. The Kushites had a varied diet. Sorghum and millet were staples, ground into flour for bread and porridge. They also cultivated dates, melons, and various vegetables along the fertile banks of the Nile. And, of course, there was fish from the river and game from the savannas. You see a woman grinding grain on a stone quern, her movements practiced and efficient, a rhythm passed down through generations. It's a simple, timeless scene, one that could have taken place 1,000 years before, or 1,000 years after. It makes you think. We often focus on the kings and queens, the great monuments and epic battles. But this daily grind, this is the true heartbeat of history. A little further on, you see a merchant displaying ostrich feathers. Big, luxurious plumes, some dyed in vibrant colors. Ostrich feathers were a significant export, prized in Egypt and beyond, for adornment and ceremonial purposes. It's a bit comical to think about, isn't it? These giant, flightless birds, striding majestically through the savannah, unknowingly contributing to high fashion in pharaonic courts. You can just imagine a Kushite trader trying to explain the appeal to a skeptical foreigner. No, really, they're all the rage in Thebes. You attach them to your, well, everything. The logistics of transporting such delicate items across vast desert expanses must have been a nightmare. One wrong bump and your prize feather is just a sad, crumpled stick. You pause by a stall where a man is selling intricately carved wooden headrests. These weren't just for comfort. They were status symbols and often had spiritual significance, believed to protect the sleeper from evil spirits. Some were even buried with their owners. It makes you ponder the things we value, the objects we imbue with meaning beyond their practical use. Historians still debate the full extent of the ritualistic importance of these headrests in daily Kushite life versus their purely funerary role. Some scholars suggest they were actively used every night, while others believe their most elaborate forms were reserved for the afterlife or ceremonial display. The truth, as it often is, probably lies somewhere in between, varying from individual to individual, from one social stratum to another. The light is really beginning to fade now, and lamps are being lit, casting a warm, flickering glow over the marketplace. The energy shifts, becomes a little softer, more intimate. The day's trading is winding down. You see families gathering, sharing food and stories. The sound of a lute, or a similar stringed instrument, drifts through the air, a gentle, melancholic melody. It's a moment of peace, of community, a reminder that even in the distant past, people sought comfort and connection, just as we do. You feel a strange sense of calm settle over you, the day's imagined dust and heat giving way to a cool, clear evening under a sky that is slowly beginning to prickle with stars. The same stars that guided those Kushite merchants on their long journeys, the same stars that are perhaps looking down on you, right now, wherever you are. The marketplace, now illuminated by the soft glow of countless oil lamps, has a different kind of magic to it. The sharp edges of the day have softened, and the sounds are more subdued. You find yourself drawn towards a quieter section, away from the last of the food vendors and the clatter of closing stalls. Here, the air smells faintly of old parchment and something else. Incense, but a different kind than the myrrh that dominated earlier. It's more subtle, perhaps sandalwood or spikenard. You see a figure seated on a low stool, an elderly man with a kind face, etched with the wisdom of many years. Before him are not goods for sale in the traditional sense, but rather tools of a scribe, reed pens, small pots of ink, and smooth pieces of papyrus, though the Kushites also famously used ostraca, pottery shards or flakes of stone, for less formal writings. He looks up as you approach, a gentle smile touching his lips. He doesn't speak your language, nor you his, but there's a universal understanding in his welcoming gesture. This is a place where knowledge, not just material goods, is exchanged. Kush, particularly in its Meroitic phase, developed its own unique script, a fascinating alphabetic system derived from Egyptian hieroglyphs, but distinctly its own. This Meroitic script is a key mainstream fact, and though scholars have been able to decipher the phonetic values of the letters, the language itself is still largely untranslated, holding on to its secrets tightly. Imagine having the key to unlock a door, but not knowing what any of the rooms inside contain. That's the challenge facing linguists today with Meroitic. You watch as the scribe carefully draws a character, a graceful curve, followed by a precise dot. It's beautiful, almost artistic. What stories, what records, what poems are locked away in these symbols? You sit for a moment, simply observing. It's peaceful here. A young apprentice, perhaps the old man's grandson, diligently grinds pigment for ink nearby. It's a slow, methodical process. This makes you think about the pace of life, the dedication to craft. No instant downloads, no quick Google searches. Knowledge was hard-won, carefully preserved, and passed down with reverence. You wonder what this scribe might be writing. A merchant's ledger, a religious hymn, a letter to a distant relative. Perhaps he's documenting the day's gossip, an ancient equivalent of a social media feed, just much, much slower and probably more accurate. Breaking news, Intef's donkey has escaped again. More at sundown, unless the crocodile gets it first. One peculiar detail about Meroitic society is the prominent role of women, particularly the Kandakes, or queen mothers. These powerful women often ruled as sole monarchs or wielded significant influence alongside their sons. Their names and images appear on temple walls and stelae, a testament to their authority in a world often dominated by men. You can imagine a Kandake dictating a sternly worded letter to a rival kingdom, this very scribe carefully transcribing her powerful words. The gentle rhythm of the scribe's work is almost hypnotic. You feel your eyelids getting a little heavier. But your journey isn't quite over. You decide to meander towards the river, the source of life for this desert kingdom. As you leave the soft lamplight of the market, the stars above seem to blaze with an incredible intensity. The Milky Way is a vivid slash across the inky blackness, more brilliant than you've ever seen it, unpolluted by modern city lights. The air cools considerably near the water, and the sounds change again. The gentle lapping of the Nile against its banks, the chirping of crickets, the distant call of a night bird. You see long, narrow boats moored along the shore, their sails furled. These vessels were essential for trade and transport, carrying goods and people up and down the life-giving river. Imagine one of these boats laden with ebony, ivory, incense, and yes, that famous Kushite gold, making its slow journey north towards Egypt, or south towards the heart of Africa. The boatmen would have been skilled navigators, intimately familiar with the Nile's currents, its hidden sandbanks, and its formidable cataracts, those rocky, shallow stretches that made passage difficult and dangerous. It's a testament to their skill that such extensive trade networks existed. You can almost hear the creak of the timbers, the low murmur of the crew settling down for the night, perhaps sharing stories of their travels, of distant ports and strange encounters. Maybe one of them is complaining about the quality of the bread at the last stop, a timeless traveler's lament. Honestly, you'd think after 2,000 years of baking, they'd get it right. It was like chewing on a sun-baked brick. You walk along the riverbank for a while, the moon now rising, casting a silvery path across the water. The great temples and pyramids of Meroe are dark silhouettes against the starlit sky. Kushite pyramids are different from their more famous Egyptian counterparts. They are smaller, with steeper sides and flat tops, often built very close together. They served as tombs for Kushite royalty. Historians still debate the precise nature and extent of Egyptian influence on Kushite religion and burial practices versus the development of distinctly indigenous traditions. While there are clear borrowings from Egyptian iconography and deities, Amun was a principal god in Kush, for instance. There were also unique Kushite gods, like the lion-headed Apidemak, a warrior god. Were the Kushites simply emulating their northern neighbors, or were they selectively adopting and adapting elements that resonated with their own pre-existing belief systems, creating a unique cultural and religious synthesis? This remains a lively area of discussion among scholars, piecing together clues from temple inscriptions, funerary texts, and archaeological finds. Suddenly, you hear a soft splash nearby. You peer into the darkness and see the sleek, dark shape of a crocodile gliding silently into the water. A not-so-gentle reminder that this beautiful, life-giving river also harbors dangers. The ancient Kushites would have had a healthy respect and perhaps a degree of reverence for these powerful creatures. You decide it's probably best to step a little further away from the water's edge. No need to become a late-night snack for the local wildlife, even in your imagination. It's funny how quickly you adapt, isn't it? One minute you're marveling at the stars, the next you're calculating your distance from a prehistoric predator. Survival instincts, even in a dreamlike state, are pretty persistent. You think about the vastness of the desert that stretches beyond the narrow, fertile strip of the Nile Valley. Those Kushite merchants didn't just stick to the river. They led arduous camel caravans across brutal desert landscapes, connecting the Mediterranean world with the heartlands of Africa. They traded for exotic goods like animal skins, live animals. Imagine trying to keep a giraffe calm on a long desert trek. Are we there yet? My neck is killing me. And precious incense resins from the Horn of Africa. These overland routes were perilous, subject to bandit attacks, sandstorms, and the ever-present threat of dehydration. The knowledge of where to find hidden wells and oases would have been as valuable as gold itself. These merchants were not just businessmen. They were explorers, diplomats, and incredibly resilient individuals. They were the threads that wove together distant cultures. You find a smooth, cool rock to sit on, a little way from the river, and just listen to the sounds of the night. The gentle breeze carries faint, unidentifiable scents, perhaps the perfume of a night-blooming flower, or the distant smell of a cooking fire from a village further inland. It's profoundly peaceful. You consider the immense span of time this kingdom existed. The Kerma culture, the first Kushite kingdom, emerged around 2500 BCE, predating even the Meroitic period you've been wandering through. That's an incredible continuity of civilization, adapting and evolving over millennia. We tend to get caught up in our own fleeting moments, our own modern dramas. But here, under the ancient stars, you feel a connection to something much larger, much older. The worries of your day, the deadlines, the notifications, they all seem to fade into insignificance against this backdrop of deep time. The moon is higher now, bathing the landscape in a soft, ethereal light. You reflect on the fact that while gold was undeniably a major export and a symbol of Kushite wealth, it wasn't the only secret their market stalls held. The true treasures were perhaps the skills of their artisans, the resilience of their traders, the unique blend of their culture, and the mysteries of their UNF-translated language. These are the riches that continue to intrigue and inspire us today. The iron that armed them and tilled their fields, the pottery that graced their tables, the complex social structures that allowed powerful queens to rule. These are all facets of a sophisticated civilization that deserves to be more than just a footnote in the shadow of Egypt. You feel a profound sense of stillness. The day's imaginary journey from the bustling market to the quiet riverbank has been a long one. The energy you felt earlier has given way to a deep sense of calm. The subtle sounds of the Kushite night are a natural lullaby. The moon, your silent companion on this journey through the Kushite night, climbs higher, a perfect silver disk in the velvety darkness. It bathes the sleeping city of Meroe in a soft, ethereal glow, etching the outlines of buildings in sharp relief against the inky sky. You find yourself wandering back, almost unconsciously, from the river's edge, drawn once more towards the heart of this ancient capital. The main marketplace is truly quiet now, a ghost of its daytime vibrancy. Stalls are shuttered or draped with heavy cloths, their treasures tucked away. Only a few stray dogs, lean and shadowy, roam the empty spaces, their noses to the ground, sniffing for any forgotten morsel. The air is cooler here, cleaner, carrying the distinct dry scent of the desert night, a stark contrast to the day's complex perfume of spices, sweat, and commerce. The silence is profound, a silence broken only by the occasional sigh of the wind as it rustles through the fronds of a dormant acacia tree, or the almost imperceptible scuttling of some small nocturnal creature in the deep shadows. You walk through narrow, winding streets, smoother now under the ghostly light. The houses, built of fired red brick or rough-hewn stone, seem to huddle together, their walls cool to the touch if you were to reach out. Some are modest, single-story dwellings, their flat roofs offering a place to sleep under the stars on hotter nights. Others are more substantial, two-story structures with small, high windows, hinting at the homes of wealthier merchants or perhaps temple officials. You can only imagine the lives lived within these walls, families curled together on reed mats, dreams unfolding in the quiet dark, the silent, personal dramas of daily existence. It's a poignant reminder that great kingdoms are not just about grand monuments and dynastic rulers, but about the countless ordinary people, their hopes, their fears, their quiet contributions to the flow of life. You pass by a larger compound, its perimeter wall higher and thicker than the others. Even in the dim moonlight, you can sense its importance from the sheer scale of its construction and the remnants of ornate carvings you can just make out around a grand, sealed gateway. Perhaps this is a minor palace, or a major administrative building now silent and dark. The Kushite civilization, particularly during its Napatan and Meroitic periods, was renowned for its monumental architecture, not just the famous steep-sided pyramids, but also grand temples dedicated to their pantheon of gods, including both Egyptian deities like Amun and their own indigenous ones. This architectural prowess is another mainstream historical fact that underscores their sophistication and their ability to marshal significant resources and labor. They weren't merely imitating their northern Egyptian neighbors. They were forging their own distinct architectural language, adapting Nilotic traditions to their specific environment, materials, and cultural expressions, creating structures that were uniquely Kushite. As you turn a corner, navigating by the stars and the silvered edges of the buildings, a faint, almost imperceptible light emanates from a small, unassuming structure, tucked away in a side alley. Curiosity, your gentle companion throughout this night, pulls you closer. Peeking through a slightly ajar doorway, you see a room filled not with sleeping people, but with dozens of clay pipe beehives stacked neatly against the walls. It's a dedicated apiary, an urban honey farm. Honey was incredibly valued in the ancient world, not just as the primary sweetener, sugarcane being unknown in this part of Africa at the time, but also for its potent medicinal properties and as the base for mead, a fermented honey wine likely enjoyed at celebrations. This dedication to apiculture, even on what appears to be a small, perhaps individual or family-run scale, is a charming, peculiar detail. Imagine the beekeeper, a figure whose craft was as vital for bringing sweetness and healing to the community as the smith was for his tools and weapons. You can almost smell the faint, sweet, waxy aroma of beeswax and warm honey mingling with the cool, dusty air of the city. It's a small, intensely domestic scene, yet it speaks volumes about the resourcefulness, the diverse economy, and the quiet skills of the Kushite people. You can picture a Kushite child, eyes wide with that universal anticipation, waiting for a finger dipped in fresh, golden honeycomb. They probably had their own sayings about these industrious creatures, perhaps something along the lines of, "The man who upsets the beehive will find life less sweet," or, "A single bee is small, but together they build empires of honey." Further on, your path takes you towards one of the city's many temples, its pylon gates looming large even in the moonlight. Its carved reliefs, depicting gods with animal heads, powerful pharaohs, and serene kendaks, are softened by the night, but still radiate an ancient power. The lion-headed god, Apidemak, a truly indigenous Kushite deity, often features prominently in these temple precincts. Sometimes he is shown as a warrior, complete with bow and arrows, sometimes with a serpent's body emerging from a lotus flower, symbolizing his multifaceted nature. The worship of Apidemak is particularly interesting because he doesn't have a clear, direct Egyptian counterpart, highlighting the unique religious identity that Kush proudly developed and maintained. Scholars continue to debate the precise origins and the full theological significance of Apidemak. Was he an ancient desert god, a spirit of the untamed lands, who was later incorporated into the state pantheon as the kingdom grew? Or did his cult develop later, perhaps as a potent symbol of Kushite strength, martial prowess, and national independence, especially during periods of interaction or rivalry with Egypt. Inscriptions portray him as a god of war and victory, a divine protector of the Kushite rulers, ensuring fertility and prosperity for the land. The nuances of his worship, the specific rituals performed in his honor, were they fierce and martial or also gentle and protective? And his exact relationship with other deities in the complex Kushite pantheon are still subjects of ongoing research. Each new archaeological find, a fragment of an inscription, a depiction on a potsherd, could potentially unlock another piece of this divine puzzle. You imagine quiet, personal offerings being made even at night, a soldier seeking Apetamak's protection before a journey, or a mother praying for the strength of her children. You find a weathered stone bench, perhaps once part of a public garden now reclaimed by the night, and lean against a cool wall, gazing up at the temple. The silence here feels different, more profound, imbued with centuries of prayer, chant, and ritual offerings. You think about the cycle of festivals that would have marked the Kushite year, grand public celebrations for major gods like Amun, and perhaps more intimate, local festivals for deities like Apetamak. Imagine the processions, the air thick with incense, the rhythmic beat of drums and the jingle of sistrums, the sacred rattles. It's a world so far removed from our own in its outward forms, yet the underlying human need for connection with something larger than ourselves, for meaning, for celebration, and for solace, remains strikingly unchanged. You can almost hear the faint echo of ancient music, or the distant murmur of a priestly chant, carried on the night breeze. Or maybe, you muse, it's just the wind itself, whispering through the ancient weathered stones, carrying tales and secrets that only it truly remembers. It's easy to romanticize the past from this comfortable, dreamlike distance. Life in ancient Kush, for all its gold and glory, would have been undeniably hard for many, often precarious. Disease, without modern medicine, could be a death sentence. Drought could parch the vital crops along the Nile, bringing famine. Conflict, both internal and with neighboring powers, was a recurring theme. These were ever-present realities, etched into the lives of the people. But alongside these hardships, there was also immense beauty, strong community bonds, sophisticated art, and a rich, resilient cultural tapestry that we are still diligently, piece by piece, trying to fully understand and appreciate. The monumental effort to erect these temples and pyramids, to craft exquisite jewelry and pottery, stands as a testament not just to power, but to a deep-seated human drive to create, to leave a mark, to reach for something beyond mere survival. You feel a profound sense of weariness now, a gentle but insistent tug towards sleep. Your imagined exploration of Meroe, this nocturnal wandering through its sleeping heart, has been rich and full. You've witnessed the echoes of the bustling market, felt the quiet dedication of the scribe by his lamp, sensed the life-giving power of the invisible Nile nearby, and stood in awe before the silent majesty of the temples under the desert moon. You've pondered their mastery of iron, the delicacy of their pottery, the unique authority of their ruling queens, the enigma of their undeciphered script, and the distinct character of their indigenous gods. You've come to understand that while gold was undeniably a glittering thread in their story, a source of wealth and a beacon for trade, the true secrets of the Kushite merchants and their enduring kingdom were far more diverse and complex. These secrets were woven into the very fabric of their daily lives, their sophisticated artistry, their deeply held beliefs, and their incredible resilience in navigating and thriving within a challenging, often harsh, landscape. As you begin to truly drift, the vivid images of Kush start to soften and blur at the edges. The sharp details of the marketplace stalls, the glint of imagined gold, the precise, elegant lines of the Meroitic script you saw earlier, they all begin to merge into a gentle, flowing current of history, like watercolors bleeding into a damp page. The dry heat of the desert day, so palpable hours ago, has long since given way to the cool, encompassing tranquility of the deep night, and the distant stars, those same stars that guided ancient caravans, seem to pulse now with a soft, reassuring, and comforting light. The whispers of the ancient city, its stories and its secrets, are fading, being replaced by a profound and welcoming sense of peace. You are no longer an active observer, purposefully walking its streets, but simply floating, as if suspended in a warm, timeless, and utterly safe space. The weight of the day, any day, your own day, begins to lift effortlessly from your shoulders, like a cloak gently sliding to the floor. There is nothing left for you to do, nothing you need to solve or figure out. Just allow yourself to be carried by this gentle, incoming tide of sleep. The journey through ancient Kush is drawing to a close, like the slow setting of that desert moon. Let the echoes of the marketplace, the soft lapping of the Nile's waters, and the silent wisdom of the starlit temples recede gently into the background of your mind. Feel the ground beneath you, real or imagined, become softer, more yielding, as if you're settling into the finest, most comfortable Kushite cotton, or perhaps just your own familiar bed, which cradles you perfectly. Each breath you take now is a little slower, a little deeper, drawing in calm and exhaling any lingering tension, any residue of the day. Imagine the dry, desert air, once filled with the scent of spices and the smoke of forges, now carrying only the faintest, most soothing whisper of ancient incense, a fragrance designed to calm the mind and to sanctify the peaceful passage into dreams. The vibrant colors of the market stalls, the rich reds of the fired pottery, the earthly gleam of worked metal, all soften now, blending seamlessly into muted, restful earth tones, like a landscape seen through the soft, forgiving haze of early dawn. There are no more questions to ponder about Meroitic script or the true extent of the Kandake's reign. No more details to scrutinize about intricate trade routes or the specific iconography on temple carvings. All the fascinating facts and intriguing figures, the scholarly debates and the peculiar, charming details can now rest. They have played their part, sparking your imagination, guiding your journey, and now they can dissolve into the quiet, well-ordered library of your mind to be revisited another time if you wish, or perhaps simply to enrich the fertile soil from which your own unique dreams will grow tonight. The slight, sarcastic remarks and the gentle, knowing humor that peppered our journey through time have faded too, replaced by a simple, encompassing stillness, a profound quietude. The analytical part of your mind, the part that plans and worries and remembers, can clock off now. Its long shift is over. There is only the sensation of deepening relaxation, a comfortable, pleasant heaviness in your limbs, a soothing warmth spreading gently through your entire body, from the tips of your toes to the crown of your head. Picture that wise old scribe, his work for the day finally complete, carefully putting away his reed pens and his pots of ink, the lamplight casting long, soft, dancing shadows as he prepares for his own well-earned rest. You too can now put aside all the tools of your day, the thoughts and concerns and responsibilities that occupied your waking hours. The path you walked through moonlit Meroa, from the sun-baked earth of the once bustling market to the cool, ancient stones by the tranquil river, now becomes a soft, indistinct, and inviting trail, leading you effortlessly and peacefully towards sleep. Each step along this path is lighter than the last, requiring no effort at all. The sounds of the ancient city, the distant memory of a lute's melody, the murmur of forgotten voices, the long, silent clang of the smithy's hammer, have all faded completely into a profound and welcoming silence. It's the kind of deep, restorative silence that allows for true rest, untroubled and undisturbed. Let your own surroundings, the familiar quiet of your own room, merge seamlessly with this ancient, protective quietude. The gentle hum of your fan, if you have one, or the distant, muted sounds of your own neighborhood, they all become part of this gentle, encompassing bubble of peace. You are safe, you are comfortable, and you are ready for sleep. The story is told, the journey complete. Good night.